Morning everybody, my name's George Kyriacou. I'm a National Account Manager at Caterer.com. I'm here today with Oli to talk about the candidate journey, both pre and post Corona. Oli, feel free to introduce yourself.
Cheers, George. Hi, everyone. My name is Oli Cavaliero. I'm Head of Employer Brand at Honest Burgers.
Brilliant. So Oli, I know you guys are extremely proactive in your recruitment approach as a whole. So tell me a little bit about how you've seen the candidate journey evolve over the last few years.
Yeah, I think we've tried our hardest to make the candidate journey a memorable one, whether you are successful or are unsuccessful. Um, Certainly in the last few years, I mean, I've seen recruitment adapt, and you've had to kind of flex your style of recruitment to kind of run with the times. Ultimately, we've seen recently, tech come into the candidate journey so forcefully, where maybe 5 years ago it was the same recruitment journey or the interview journey, whatever business you went to. When I kind of went internally, I joined Five Guys initially, and that was pretty much when Five Guys was launching in the UK, and we were kind of opening a restaurant every single week, and we found ourselves. Well, I found myself. One day I'd be in London, the next I'd be in Leeds, the next Scotland. So you're literally constantly on the road, and we were just doing assessment centre after assessment centre, and it was pure high volume recruitment, because that was the aim. We were literally opening restaurant after restaurant, and you didn't have time to spend on long interview journeys. They were fast, they were sharp, and we had to be equipped to be able to hire enough staff to run the restaurants. So, and that gave me a really, really good insight actually to the need of the candidate, to be spoken to by a recruiter a day or so after they've applied for a role and be invited to an interview, make sure that that interview or assessment centre is engaging and formative, and kind of transparent to the company that you're going to be working for. And then following Five Guys, I joined Honest Burgers where I am now, and I've been at Honest for about 4 years, and I think Phil, our co-founder, he really was probably the person behind pushing me to think outside of the box and look at a different way to interview, and what kind of candidate journey could we implement that no other candidate has been on before. So certainly, again, making sure that we were initially, it was again, informative, transparent, make sure they met the owners during the recruitment journey, and make sure it's 50-50, making sure that the candidate's finding everything about the business, as well as us finding out about them. But we developed an escape room. Initially, we actually formed our own escape room using one of our restaurants. When it was closed in the morning, we would literally block it down, and there was loads of different tasks that a group of 6 to 8 people had to come and do and complete, and we would be watching them and assessing their behaviours. And that was as the first part of the interview, so stage 1 of the interview process, and it was amazing. If you haven't done an escape room before, it's like a breakout room where you're locked in a room and then you need to get out in 45 minutes or an hour. And it was great because it was Honest Burgers themed. We got to see them in a place where they were interacting with each other, and we would have our 5 behaviours or values as well that we would assess them on. And then after the escape room, we would interview them, and it would be purely reflected on their performance during the last hour. From there, because that worked, we saw an increase in management retention, and we decided to partner with an escape room company in East London. and Aim Escape. If you haven't gone there, you should. They're brilliant, and they've got three escape rooms. Sorry, and one of them is a restaurant themed escape room. So we partnered
Brilliant.
with Aim Escape, and it was exactly the same concept, but we would invite candidates, we'd do the telephone screen, invite candidates to Aim Escape. We would meet them as a group. They wouldn't know what they were doing. They'd been told they'd, been invited to an assessment day, and then that's when we would deliver the message that, we're going to go into an escape room. To those that really didn't want to go in, it was fine. And then we were able to watch kind of on the CCTV, Big Brother style. And again, we would be able to assess purely on the behaviours that we were looking for to work at Honest Burgers. And it was an amazing candidate journey and a great experience. The feedback that we had from every single one of the candidates following the interview, they gave us 100% on a candidate experience. And what that I was able to do was really kind of set the tone of expectations of a candidate journey. And as a recruiter, I think it's your responsibility that you're taking a candidate through an amazing journey, and that's what we did. But there's no point doing that if it just stops at the final stage interview, or if it stops once you've offered them a job. You've then kind of set the bar to go into the first day at work and the first week at work. So we had to kind of really look at everything ultimately. But ultimately, the candidate journey now, we were able to do that because our restaurant's predominantly London, so we're able to meet every single candidate and put them through the escape room. But ultimately, we needed to adapt that to where we are now with the world of technology, as well as Gen Z coming into the workforce forcefully as well. So if you look at the artificial intelligence that's being used, gamification, psychometric assessments within the candidate journey, that's becoming more and more used ultimately. So I think from a candidate's perspective, those companies who are using tech more, they will go into more of a psychometric assessments, which is ultimately getting actual data for the recruitment team for them to put through the next stage or to offer a job. And so I guess how we see tech being used is it is giving us actual data. It helps us reduce the bias within the interview process, and will increase diversity within the workforce, and ultimately, will reduce spend per hire as well. So that's what's being used more and more, as well as looking at different talent pools.
Sure.
I think there's, you guys are one, caterer.com, other online job boards. We're now seeing apps coming into play, and then the talent pools. So partnering with different charities and organisations who, for example, will help homeless people get back into the workplace. People who are going through the criminal justice system to get back into the workplace, and we've been able to do that as well. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling now, but so we have partnered with Working Chance, probably when I joined Honest Burgers, and Working Chance, they support ladies with convictions to get back into the workplace. And we partnered with them purely from I was at a careers fair. I met a lady called Emma George, who actually works for Honest Burgers now, but she was working for Working Chance at the time, and she introduced what Working Chance do, and a week later, I went down to a prison in Surrey to meet some of the ladies that they were working with who were in jail at the time, but have a release date and are looking to get into hospitality, or they might be looking to get into accounting or retail or whatever it may be. So it was almost like a volunteer day, and we went and we interviewed load of ladies, got to understand about them, their motivations, what they're looking for, and it was an incredible experience. Actually, one of my most memorable experience, probably, because it actually opened my eyes, probably at that moment, to thinking, wow, these are amazing people who, have potentially made a bad decision in life, or been taken down the wrong path in life, and actually they just need a second chance, and I was there to potentially give them that opportunity, or we as a company, sorry, were there to give them that opportunity. And so and it was an amazing day, and from that I went down like a second time, and then I met one person that then got released and started working for us, and we've had a close relationship with Working Chance now, and we've got 4 ladies at Honest Burgers in leadership positions who have come through Working Chance. And of course, you need to adapt the interview process slightly at the same time. What you don't want to do is hire them just to say that you're doing a great thing, because it's unfair on that individual. So you need to make sure they go through a thorough interview journey, the same as any other candidate. So treating them absolutely the same. But what you're able to do is be a bit more flexible with them. So that might be meeting them outside one of the restaurants, because they might not want to come into the restaurant, and they might just be a little bit nervous. Or that might be just giving them a bit more advice on what to do during the trial shift. And then that goes all the way through to day one, and how many hours they should be doing initially. So you're just giving them that little bit extra support and flexing your support to set them up to succeed. We also partnered with Crisis, a homeless organisation, who again a great organisation who do amazing things, and again introduced us to some people who we may have not met otherwise. So yeah, I certainly think talent pools are coming more to light, to be able to use, and more people are using them.
Sure.
And then that's and that kind of gives you a balance, I think, from using tech in the candidate journey, but also having that human approach as well. Because I do think we can use tech as much as we want, and artificial intelligence, but I don't think that intelligence takes away the empathy that a human can give. So that's why I think the role of a recruiter is safe, because we have that empathy. But what it might mean is that we are going to be coming into the recruitment process, so the interview journey, at a different stage. So the artificial intelligence, potentially might be at the right at the beginning, or it might be used right at the end, but the recruiter will come in at a different stage, and ultimately it's the same journey, but it also gives you a much faster journey, which is one of the needs for Gen Z, the next generation coming into the workforce. If we all know that Gen Z are they potentially will join a company purely based on the tech that they're using. They might join a company purely on the opportunities to progress in a matter of weeks or months, because they're ambitious. They want to learn, and they want to move up the ladder as fast as possible. They're quite entrepreneurial, and they have that spirit in them, which they want to potentially work as well as do an online business as well, and on the sides, and then they have a need in the candidate journey for an employer to be transparent. They want to know the ethics behind the business. They want to feel like they're doing a great thing for the world. And they kind of want to take over the world as well. You know, that's the ambition that they've got, which is amazing, because it adds so much value to the workforce. But you've got to be able to embrace it. And I think for employers and recruiters, you've got to be able to embrace that in the candidate journey all the way through to how can you fit that into your workforce. And I don't think that's taking away the fact that there's a need for millennials and people who potentially might want to be making a career change. We've got to know, and I think we've got to understand that we can't move everything towards Gen Z, because there is a need for other generations, and we need to adapt with them as well and introduce other generations to the world of tech, because they may have not used it before. So there's ways to introduce tech to everybody and for it to be used through the candidate journey, certainly.
Amazing. And just briefly, how do you find that this candidate experience that you've identified and outlined has affected things like your staff retention and brand image?
Sorry, say that again. It just cracked up.
Sorry. So how do you find that this candidate experience that you've outlined, like the escape room, for example, has kind of affected your retention and your brand image amongst the recruitment market?
Well, I think, the escape room from brand image, I mean, we won an award for that, the Cater of People Awards, which was great because, you put in so much hard work, and it's nice to be rewarded for it, and to be recognised that it was a great thing. But and then obviously that it gets seen within the industry, and I think a few people have started trying to do the same thing, which is great, and I hope it helps them as well, and it certainly helped staff retention, but only a small bit, because as I kind of said earlier, you can have an amazing candidate experience, and you can use whatever tech or whatever human approach that you want, but there's no point doing that if your general manager isn't there to meet that waiter on day one, or they don't get their training plan, or they're working 70 hours in the first week, or they shouldn't be working 70 hours at all. But there's no point going through all of that and then to find out that actually that's not the company I signed up to. The reality is completely the opposite of that. So having a great candidate journey just raises the bar and the expectation of the candidate. So then it's up to the rest of the journey to live up to it as well. So making sure that day one is perfect all the way through the employee life cycle.
Sure, yeah. So have you got any advice before we move on? Have you got any advice for candidates that might be out of work at the moment? What they can be doing to kind of secure a career in hospitality, and any advice you can give, really?
Yeah, and I think this is all just personal advice, because we are kind of in a bit of the unknown at the moment, and I think it's great that we're all trying to prepare ourselves. But I think if I was a candidate and I was looking for a new position in a restaurant company, there's so many ways that you can stay engaged with recruiters and with the company. Use your online channels, Instagram, to start exploring what companies there are out there, and you can have a look at their culture through their Instagram. You can look at obviously Glassdoor and Indeed, the review pages, so you can read up on different employers. And I'd also use LinkedIn to start connecting with their people team, so the recruitment team, to start having conversations, because there's not many people are recruiting now, because obviously there's a lot of restaurants closed. But what that enables you to do is just to stay engaged with the job market. So when life starts to go back to normal and people are starting to recruit, you've already put feelers out and you've already built relationships. And I'd really encourage you to do that, because it will keep your mind ticking, and it will really give you a better idea of the company that you're potentially going to be interviewing for or potentially working for. But also what I think is, and it's certainly something I've been doing, is just learning as much as you can about something that's interesting you. Hospitality is such an amazing career, and if you're in management or you're looking to get into management, accountancy skills, they're gonna come into play, because if you're running a business, so what about just trying to do a small accountancy course, which will be free on YouTube or any other online channels. There's different learning channels. Again, I would just type it into Google on leadership skills and management skills. So I would just use the time to keep on developing yourself, and learning new skills that you might not have had before, you might not have thought were actually out there, and then just stay in touch with people from the industry, and then when life goes back to normal, you'll be in a better place position in the job market and the job search.
Amazing. And we certainly have time to, train and develop ourselves and that kind of thing now. So it's certainly the time to start upskilling, isn't it? And what about you yourself, Ollie? Obviously, I've seen quite a lot that you've been busy with your hire. So it'd be great to hear a little bit about that and what you guys have been up to.
Yeah. So, obviously, Caterer sponsored our event. So, with Hire's a place for hospitality recruiters to get together, share ideas, share positive stories about what's going on, be introduced to innovation in the candidate journey. So we actually had an event planned for March, which unfortunately had to be postponed. But what we wanted to do was make sure people were still coming together, and be engaged with each other as well. And obviously, we're able to do that virtually. So we've just launched Hire Side Chats, where we are taking people for one-to-one conversations, a bit like what we're doing today. People from the industry or friends of the industry who have a great story to tell, and might be in recruitment, might be in training, might be in wellness or a supplier to the industry, and ultimately just having a good personal conversation with them, understanding their purpose, their why, what they've learned along their journey, and it's great because you get to know the person behind that LinkedIn photo, or the person behind an email, the person behind the company. You really get a better understanding of who they are, and hopefully by doing that we're able to put some people in the limelight and to celebrate the success that person's had, or the great things that person's company does for our industry. Because when life was normal, everyone's running around at a million miles an hour. You kind of don't get time to stop and think, and sometimes you don't get time to connect with people, or speak to people that you may have not spoken to before, or get an understanding of what they do and why do they run that business, or why do they do that on a day-to-day. So it gives us an opportunity to reflect and to find out about people's purpose and their why, and some of the great things that they're doing to help the industry.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, keep busy. That is all we've got time for, unfortunately. But Ollie, thank you so much for your insights. Amazing as always. Always a thought leader in this industry. So keep an eye out for more caterer.com catch-ups. And for now, that's all from us.
Definitely. Thanks so much for the
Thanks a lot.
invite
See you
as
again, Ollie.
well. It's a
Take care.
pleasure. Catch up soon.
Cheers, Ollie. All the best.
Bye.